Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our morning edition of Big Brother 22 All Stars live feed spoilers. You know that I love drama. I've made that clear across a number of different videos. I thought there was a chance that we were going to get drama after that veto ceremony that happened yesterday. And that has happened, and we have probably our biggest fight of the season so far.
This was a giant burning smoke hole, which ended up basically being like what's happening with us right now of where we live. We're like 30 miles away from where those geniuses decided to have their gender reveal party and burn down 10,000 acres for no reason. And now our whole town is filled with smoke and everything is burning. It's like the real life version of Christmas's punishment of look how cute my babies are, but it's super destructive. That is what this fight is, a burning smoke hole.
There is no better way that I can describe that. So with that in mind, we're going to get into why this burning smoke hole happened, the aftermath of it, what it means potentially for Christmas, for Devon, for Bayleigh, who are all sort of involved here, and a whole lot more. But before we dive in, if you guys do like this video, give us a like, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, and support us further. Just check those links to our store and our Patreon. Live chats happen over there last Sunday of every month.
Okay, so let's get into the burning smoke hole here. So it started with a conversation with Devon and Christmas while Bayleigh was in the diary room. And they were just talking about, Devon was trying to explain to Christmas about why Bayleigh felt as betrayed as she did, that they were roommates, that she was trusting her with not just personal stuff, but very personal game stuff. And she had been trying and thought that she had a really close relationship with Christmas. Devon even compared Christmas to herself, where she said, she said, I was her untouchable, but clearly you also were somebody who was part of her group because she trusted you enough to even tell you something like that, which is something nobody's gonna, like, Christmas not gonna go tell people that Tyler's her number one. But the fact that Bayleigh told Christmas that tells me, and should have told Christmas, that Bayleigh feels that way about her as well, that she is part of the group.
It's such a messy situation because ultimately, Christmas is trying to justify this untouchable comment as the reason for these nominations and that is why this has happened. But I think the reason why Devon was so frustrated and asking specific questions of Christmas in the first place is because she doesn't buy it. Devon is not an idiot, and there are obvious other duos in the game. I mean, Nicole and Ian have talked a lot about this here and there. Nicole and Cody were called out by the wall yeller, so Devon is not going to sit here and buy that, oh, Bayleigh and Devon are suddenly the most dangerous duo in the game, especially when Bayleigh is willing to confide information in Christmas. And yeah, it can be a game move on Christmas's part to do this, but I don't know why Christmas just didn't say, you know what, I'm working closer with other people than I am with you guys. Like, it at least is a more justifiable answer than, oh, you guys are suddenly the most dangerous duo when you're not even the only duo by far.
Yeah, it feels almost like what is happening with Cody and Danny, where Danny feels like Cody is like her number one. She tells him everything and she thinks that she's Cody's number one, but she's not. And they never really had that conversation to be like, yeah, we're each other's ride or die. That didn't happen here either. I think Bayleigh just felt like she was putting in the work. She was building a relationship. She was building a friendship, and Christmas didn't tell her anything different. Christmas is trying to land on, well, Bayleigh wasn't clear enough with me that, I was part of her group sort of thing, or one of her biggest game allies. She doesn't need to be any more clear than, I'm going to tell you my most personal game secret because you're part of my group.
It's Christmas, for starters. Like, this argument that starts up between Devon and Christmas, and this sort of kicks things off last night, if anyone is going to be upset and angry, it should be Devon and Bayleigh, because they are the two who are actually affected by what Christmas is doing, and instead it is Christmas who really is the person who sparks a lot of conflict here and acts really, really upset and doesn't seem to understand that, yes, there is a difference between gameplay and personal, but Big Brother is a game where personal things impact game, and that has always been the case. Nobody separates these two things fully. There are no pure game bots. I mean, even Dan Giesling is not a pure game bot every single second of the day.
And during this discussion with Devon, Christmas started getting heated. She caught herself and was like, listen, I'm getting heated. I'm going to try to calm it down. Devon was like, yeah, we're having a conversation. Yeah, it's a tough conversation, but yeah, you need to calm it down. Like, I'm not fighting with you sort of thing. Then, of course, it continues to escalate. Christmas is dying on this hill over here that, she couldn't put Tyler up. That's Tyler's. He can do it on someone else's HOH. It was going to ruin her game if she did that because Tyler wasn't going to tell the house what he was doing beforehand. And that's just a really weird place to land because she could have said something. So her argument is Bayleigh in her speech didn't call out Tyler. Okay, so then Tyler also didn't tell anybody beforehand that he asked to be put up, to use the veto and be put up. Okay, so Christmas is saying then that lands everything on her, that no one was going to understand what she was doing and why she was backdooring Tyler. But she could have said that herself. Okay, I'm going to take so-and-so off the block. I put Tyler up here because he came and asked me last night to do that, and I'm honoring his wishes. Close the box.
Tyler asked for this. This is not a situation where Bayleigh and Devon went to Christmas and said, you should do this because I think Tyler wants to go. Tyler said he wanted to go. And it doesn't matter where Tyler has been or anything else since the veto ceremony, but Tyler said this leading into it, and ultimately that is the big sticking point here.
Yeah, even in the fight, Christmas kept trying to sort of land this on Devon and Bayleigh, and Bayleigh specifically, that she said this thing about Devon being her untouchable, of why everything was sort of going down this way, even regardless of the Tyler stuff. And Devon kept trying to bring the conversation back to the facts, which is Tyler asked for this. She said it over and over again. Tyler asked for this. He came to us and asked for this. He came to you and asked for this. Tyler is the person who asked for this.
It's so understandably frustrating. Like, if somebody claims they want to leave, and, I'm not even trying to get into the debate again as to whether or not Tyler meant it or anything else, but he did ask to leave. And I think if you're Devon and Bayleigh, you're like, okay, well then, why isn't he leaving? We're still here. You had a golden opportunity, and this argument between the two of them, it just gets messier and messier, and Christmas is getting angrier and angrier.
Yeah, and then finally Devon had enough, and she was like, listen, I'm going to walk away, which is the right thing to do. If you're in a fight with somebody and you're getting angry, the best thing you can do is walk away. So she's like, you know what? I'm gonna walk away. I'm gonna take a minute. And then Christmas starts throwing out jabs like, yeah, good night sort of thing. And Devon's like, I'm not going to bed. I'm just walking away from this. Don't say condescending things to me. I'm just going into the other room here. And by then, Bayleigh had come out, and she didn't catch everything that was happening, so she didn't really know. She was like, hey, I just got a diary room, like, what's going on, sort of thing.
Yeah, and this is where it then, somehow it all, of course, because this is what happens in the midst of heated arguments, it all ultimately gets so much worse because Christmas and Bayleigh, they get kind of close to each other.
Yeah, it gets really weird because Bayleigh is clearly upset. She does feel personally betrayed because she thought that her and Christmas were friends and that they were, even just because you don't say, oh, we're working together, those friendships turn into you got each other's back. It doesn't have to be laid out. Put an alliance name on it. Like, it doesn't always have to be like that. It can still just be like, hey, I really like this person. We're really close. Man, I don't want to put this person on the block because I love this person. They're great. So Bayleigh was trying to explain why her feelings are hurt and how much, she felt betrayed by it. Christmas starts yelling. Christmas gets up. Christmas puts her fingers in her face, which is really crappy. Christmas starts dropping the F-bomb, F-U, F-U, which I was just like, oh my goodness, what's going on? Christmas is clapping at her. Like, it was bad. And Bayleigh handled it the best way she could, which is yelling and getting upset. I mean, those things that are happening, I'm trying not to get heated, but it was really bad. And I'm not normally a person who's going to come on here and just straight up necessarily take a side. I like to look at both sides and see where people are coming from.
Yeah.
But under no circumstances do you need to stick your fingers in someone's face. You don't need to swear at people, and you don't need to clap your hands at people and be like that. Yeah. Bayleigh didn't do any of those things.
Yeah, and what's really frustrating to me is that if it was Bayleigh who did these things, you know that, like, all these people in the house would start throwing all this stuff out there about her and, like, demonizing her and making her... And Bayleigh, and I know that she's had some heated moments in the past on the Challenge Big Brother both, but I think she handled this situation about as well as I think as she could have. When somebody is putting, you know, their fingers in your face and swearing at you, like, she didn't make it worse than it was. And, you know, it's understandable she's gonna be upset. She was the person betrayed in the first place. Yeah. For all of this. And yeah, we can sit here and say, okay, did Bayleigh and Da'Vonne make a number of game mistakes this season? And I think the answer can be yes. Can we say, you know, Christmas got herself into a really good alliance that has protected her and that's put her in a good situation and a better situation than Bayleigh and Da'Vonne are in? That answer can also be yes. But that does not justify Christmas's behavior in the moment, the way that she's acting towards the two of them. And ultimately, this is the sort of thing that can make it where Christmas's attitude sinks her own game, and then potentially, if Da'Vonne stays, Da'Vonne may end up in a better spot.
And it looks like kind of that is what is happening, because after this fight, Bayleigh went outside with Da'Vonne, cooled down a little bit. Christmas was sort of just around. Nobody was really talking to her because she was way out of line, is my guess. Nobody wants to be aligned with that. So is the house gonna start turning on Christmas? I feel like nobody wants a part of that.
And that is where that is all ultimately and honestly where we are right now. Like, it's hard to say for sure what's going to happen today. Like, maybe they'll all just sort of calm down and not talk too much about it. But just for last night, I think it was telling that even people like Danny, who we have all been kind of upset with for certain parts of this season, she seemed to be much more pro Da'Vonne than Christmas, and I think she probably also thinks Da'Vonne is someone who she can work with kind of in the near future than Christmas. And Nicole, like, you know, say what we will about Nicole, and we have certainly said a number of things that frustrate us about Nicole, but I think Nicole, she has a particular sort of identity and brand and, like, an image that she wants to maintain, and I don't think she liked Christmas's behavior at all, and I think that does make Nicole question whether or not she wants to work with someone who is acting like how Christmas acted, and she vocalized that last night.
Yeah, so, I mean, Danny and Nicole have already weeks ago talked about getting all the women out of the house anyways, but they were on the same side as where Christmas was. So I think Christmas was going to be protected for a little while. This HOH has gone so badly for Christmas because now whoever stays from Da'Vonne or Bayleigh, they're not going to be working with Christmas. Danny and Nicole right now, they're both not feeling Christmas. They're really annoyed by the way she was acting and not into the swearing and the pointing of the finger in the face and just the way it was a lot. So they're not interested in that. Cody already doesn't like Christmas. Tyler also, I'm sure a part of him is annoyed that Christmas didn't do what he wanted. But after this, we also saw him having kind of a hilarious conversation with David where they were going back and forth being like, you have a power. No, I don't have a power. Oh, I have a pretend power. Oh, I have the cloud power. Do you? No. That was from like my season 2 years ago. Oh, okay. So Tyler's made it clear that he actually wants to try to mend things with David. And after what happened with Christmas not letting him have what he wants. Christmas acting like this. I don't know that Tyler's also going to want to work with Christmas. So I think Christmas is on the outs big time.
And I think strategically she's also, I'm not saying that she's let Tyler off the hook, because Tyler, it's understandable that there are people in this game very upset about Tyler, and, we made it clear here that he should have made it clear to Davon and Bayleigh what was going to happen at the veto ceremony beforehand.
Yeah, that wasn't all right. It wasn't all right to them. It wasn't all right game-wise. Like, he hung them out to dry. Yeah,
and that's, without even anything else. Like, that is the bare minimum for what he should have done. But because Christmas has sort of done all of this, she becomes more of a public enemy. And the one thing I'll say about this fight that makes it the more hilarious part of it, there's not a lot of hilarity in this, but Ian, for a big part of this, he was in the shower and he forgot his towel, and poor Ian he can't get anybody's attention. He can't find a way. He's just like stuck in there watching it happen.
And there was a great moment too where Davon was trying to make a point to Christmas and was kind of like, listen, this would be like if I came to you and I was like, yeah, let's put Ian on the block. And then you can hear Ian in the background being like, whoa, I don't want to be part of this conversation. I don't want to be on the block.
No. Well, we've been asking for drama, and I think in that sense we did get drama from all this. Bayleigh's probably going to go on Thursday. I don't foresee there being that much that changes from that, but long-term situations like this, we'll see what happens. It came after the Labor Day party, and I'm guessing, there was probably alcohol involved in certain parts of this or whatever else, but ultimately people behave how people behaved in this moment.
Yeah, I mean, that's a little bit of context, but it's no excuse.
No, it's no excuse at all, and I think there are going to be reverberations, but before we go, I just want to send some thoughts and condolences to Cody. The news came out overnight, at least that's when I saw it, that Cody's grandfather has passed away.
Yep.
I don't know if or when they're going to inform Cody. I didn't see any signs that he was told yesterday, but on season 16, Cody's first season, we saw that both Frankie and Derek's grandfathers passed away while they were in the house, and they were informed during it, and so I would presume that is going to be something that happens over the next couple of days. But regardless of whatever we feel about Cody or anything else, I think we can all sort of say, thoughts and condolences to him and whatever he's going to be going through. Now, we will tie up this video now, and of course, we want to know your thoughts on everything that has transpired over the past little while. And if you did enjoy this video, give us a like, subscribe, support us further, check those links to the store, our Patreon, and we'll see you here next time.